Cuckoo.
Cuckoo.
Cuckoo. So the only thing I know is that you cried twice.
I did.
That's the only thing I know about how you feel about it. Okay.
It being
James Bond. Sorry, No Time to Die.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, it is now Thursday evening. We have both seen No Time to Die on the day it's come out. I watched it at 20 to 11 this morning.
Yeah.
And you, about 5 o'clock, something like that?
Yeah, something like 5 o'clock, yeah. And so before I went in, I had the pleasure of stood outside in the rain under an umbrella with Tom Dean, who's becoming a bit of a friend of the show, to be honest. He's manager of the Light Cinema in Stockport, and we were stood outside in front of an Aston Martin. I think we'll probably put this clip on social media or whatnot, and just talking a little bit about Bond release day. Here we go. So I'm here with Tom Dean, who's manager of the Light Cinema in Stockport. He's here in his dinner jacket. We're stood in front of an Aston Martin. Hi Tom, how are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, not bad. A little bit wet, but all good.
Fantastic, good. So, dead exciting day, Bond release day. What you guys have got some special stuff going on here this evening. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely, yeah. We're relaunching cinema essentially after what's been a little bit of an age of lockdown. So we've got Bond playing today in all 12 screens. We've sold out every single screen for this evening, which is fantastic, and we're adding a bit of added value and a bit of Bond experience for the Aston Martin and a bit of a red carpet.
Well, the red carpet, cool, and you've got a bit of a VIP package that you've put on as well that some people are opting for. So.
That's right, it went quite quickly. There's a select few really doing it in proper Bond style and having it shaken and not stirred. So they're going into the Rowena room and they're having canapes and pizza, and there's a goodie bag and all sorts going on with their own special entrance to their own screen.
Cool, and people have got the opportunity to win an Aston Martin driving experience. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So we've still got lots of tickets that we can sell out through the next couple of weeks or so, where there's an opportunity to win an experience. All you have to do is buy a ticket for the Light Cinema, and you're in a chance for winning.
Brilliant. So after a tough 18 months, in terms of business and for cinemas, what does a huge release like the new Bond film mean for cinemas?
So it's absolutely massive for cinema. James Bond is cinema for me, and I think anyone who might not go to the cinema will come to watch James Bond at the cinema. So it's a real yardstick to see how the industry's going, and we need everyone else to support it.
Cool. And so you've not managed to catch the film yet. You were saying earlier you managed to avoid some spoilers.
Yeah, it's tough. There's a few people coming and going, and I sort of have to close my ears sometimes to make sure that I can watch it for myself, because I'm looking forward to it.
I've been the same. All I know is Dave texted me after, and he said he cried twice. So I don't know. Hopefully that's for good reason.
Hopefully for the right reasons, for sure. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm going to get my fizz. I'm going to get my pizza, and we're going to get in the screening. Thanks very much for speaking.
Not a problem at all. Anytime. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cool. Tom Dean, manager of the Light Cinema in Stockport there. Lovely, lovely fella. Yeah, and it's just real buzz about the place there tonight. It's really cool. Really nice to see the place absolutely packed and with everyone come and see it. And it's like you said, Bond films draw people to the cinema who only go to the cinema pretty much for Bond films, which is quite cool. And you can tell, like, when you're looking around at people, it's like this is your first time here in a few years. But no, dead nice and dead exciting. I think I don't know about you, but I feel like we can do this without spoilers per se. And we'll probably put a message at the top of the show to say that as well. We'll manage that. But that's not. If you don't want to hear anything about Bond, obviously skip this, because we're going to be referring to stuff without giving stuff away. Right. Okay. Do you want to go first? Give us a bit of a setup.
You know what?
No Time Today.
I want to go first. Okay. So, obviously, as we know, No Time to Die it's Daniel Craig's last outing as James Bond. It picks up pretty close after where Spectre finishes, and I'm not going to say too much about kind of what happens at the start and things like that. But James is kind of thrown into a different situation than we've sort of found him before, okay? And he's getting comfortable, but then obviously, being a James Bond film, he gets dragged back in to his old life. We've got familiar faces in there, and it's got kind of all those things that you would expect. It's hard to really sort of say the plot without giving away too much, but old foes are re-emerging, and obviously, as we get in any old Bond film, we have some sort of big villain threatening James himself, but also his surroundings, and in this case, the world, which is kind of, for me, arcing back to old classic Bond, which is pretty beautiful. I'm going to jump straight in then. For me, this is one hell of a fitting farewell to Daniel Craig's rugged and weathered James Bond that we've grown to love, I suppose, over the past, 15 years, like a piece of varnished wooden furniture. That's what he looks like, a big tree trunk that's been battered about. It's worth noting for me that this has everything you want from a Bond film. You've got thrilling action set pieces. There's a gunfight in a staircase towards the end of the film that is thrilling, like utterly thrilling. It sounds so cliche, but complete edge of your seat stuff. I just looked at my wife Max and I was like, oh my god, that was amazing. That sort of sequence. You've got the globetrotting adventure that you'd always want. You've got a killer theme tune from Billie Eilish, and I love it in a good Bond film where they take little kind of motifs from those themes, and you hear it popping out, coming out throughout the film. Really, really lovely stuff. But in this case, which we haven't found in a lot of Bond films recently, it's actually got heart, which is brilliant. Okay, and considering Daniel Craig's past comments and his past attitude, which we've kind of touched on before, he wasn't really going to come back and do this one, and they kind of twisted his arm and twisted his wallet, I suppose, to make him come back and do this one. But he is having an absolute ball, which is, for me, it was so refreshing to see. He actually wanted to be there and wanted to be giving his James a good kind of farewell, I suppose, for this part of the series, I suppose. Yeah. It's a lovely little bookend to Daniel Craig's sort of tenure, linking back to previous outings. Actually, it's quite lovely how, and again, it's not a spoiler. I'm going to say this quite a lot, but it's quite closely connected to Casino Royale, which is really really nice, actually. A real and sometimes I think that it's quite a nice thing that they've done with the Daniel Craig Bond films, which they haven't really done much in the other ones, where actually it's got a bit of a consistent story throughout the 5 films. They are all linked in some sort of way, and it's quite nice for them to do that. It's not just a random Bond mission. Do you know what I mean? There's a point to it, which was pretty cool. For me, it was genuinely funny, mainly through the quips and wisecracks between James, Q, and Nomi. I'm not gonna say her other name. I suppose it's not really a spoiler. Saying she's got another name, that's not really a spoiler. But I don't want to kind of give this bit away. Yeah. That kind of reminded me of the older Bond films, especially the Roger Moore sort of stuff. However, for me, theme wise, this film is more closely linked randomly to the one George Lazenby out in On Her Majesty's Secret Service in more ways than one. There's a beautiful nod to the Louis Armstrong we've all the time in the world, which kind of pops up a few times. Really, really lovely. There's some other really interesting relationships in the film. There's a beautiful brotherly relationship between James and returning Felix Leiter, beautifully played.
I think
Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright, of course it was. Bloody hell. Wow. Totally blanked. There's a bit of a competitive relationship there between James and Nomi, which is really cool. And there's almost that James and his kind of prodigy, I suppose, with James and Paloma, beautifully played by Ana de Armas, in quite a short but sweet outing, which was really, really cool in sort of Cuba. Yeah. I've stayed away from reviews, but some of the headlines I've seen is people seeing their arse a little bit about this being the wokest Bond film, and saying this in a negative way. And my response to that is, shut up, you moron. Okay, because it is. But why is that a bad thing? It's a Bond film that's moving into this new age and I feel that Daniel Craig has been brilliantly kind of directing these series into a new light, I suppose, taking it away from the kind of misogyny and all that sort of stuff. That's not to say that they're not there. I'm currently watching Casino Royale as we speak upstairs, and there's still some of that. But what's wrong with changing things up? Really, Madeline in this one, beautifully played by Lea Seydoux, saves James more than he saves her, which is great. Lovely to see.
Yeah. Cool.
Just a few more little points. It's also, as you mentioned, heartbreaking. I'm not going to say in what sense, but I definitely cried twice. I've never cried in a Bond film before, but for me, you really feel the weight of this film on him. You really feel that this life that he's chosen and taken, taking its toll on his body. He looks absolutely knackered, as I said, but also his sort of spirit and soul. He's just completely worn out by this dangerous life, I suppose. And all that said, it was an absolute joy. There's a couple of things, in any sort of big blockbuster that you're not going to be 100% on board with. For me, there was some nice direction in there, but I would have liked maybe something a little bit different in some of the senses. There was some predictability, some kind of predictable aspects to it, but fine. Rami Malek. I always get those mixed up. Ha, good one, Dave. I think he was a little bit slightly underused. He was a bit of a meh villain, Really? What was his plan?
No.
So the entire thing didn't really do much for me. And there's a thing involving Spectre that's just a bit like, oh, okay, right, I get it. Okay. For me, when a film reverts to drones, solar flares, or nanobots, it's a little bit lazy. And sadly, this kind of fits into one of those fields, but obviously I'm not going to say say which one, but I feel like that's maybe me being a little bit picky. And obviously in a Bond film, as you'd expect, there is some laugh out loud dialogue. Cue, hack into Blofeld's bionic eye.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, excellent.
And then a computer that says, you have successfully hacked into Blofeld's bionic eye.
Exactly.
Thanks,
I'm like,
computer.
I looked at Max and I was like, that was a bit crap, wasn't it? But I feel like I'm just being picky. Other than that, for me, it was a bloody solid Bond film. It was a bloody solid film all round. And I really feel like it needs to just take a minute to acknowledge what Daniel Craig's done for these films. He's really saved and turned around this series that really was, as I said earlier, was on its arse after Die Another Day with the Aston Martin Vanish, as we mentioned a few weeks ago. It's brought this flawed franchise into a new age, and I bloody love him for it. So I thoroughly enjoyed this film, and I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did. I thought it was absolutely mint.
Cool.
So, yeah,
man.
There you go. That's me. I've literally ranted for 10 minutes. What did you think?
Yeah, I think picking up similar points to you, the humour I enjoyed loads. I absolutely loved Christoph Waltz. He's one of my favourite actors of all time, even though he's only in it for a small time. There's loads to love in there. You mentioned going back to the roots. There's the Aston Martin, but I mean, the Aston Martin comes out in, I think, Skyfall. The Aston Martin, when he uncuts it from the ship, and it comes up again in this, but just in a very sort of old Bond grounded way with the old Bond gadgets, which I thought is really cool. I like that there's a bit in there that's where he goes a bit Rambo when he's in the jungle, and I thought I really like that. There's some just really just cool, like nerdy cool gadgets. Like I mean it's in the trailer, but if you're into Thunderbirds, you'll probably like the submarine plane thing that unfolds in the sky and then dives underwater. That's pretty sweet. It felt, obviously it was always going to be like this to wrap up the Daniel Craig saga, because as you say, it's a really nice sort of set of films that sit together, not, some better than others, but where there's knitting between them all, and you get characters that pop up throughout the series, and there's sort of like an all-encompassing narrative that's quite nice, and it will. I think this will always sit on its own as a collective quite nicely. I have to say though, and this is, and to give it complete balance, like I liked it, I did not love it, and I think it's that old thing, as a wise Yorkshireman once said: anticipation has a habit to set you up for disappointment. Because, and I think I think for me, I was a victim of that. I think I have been anticipating this for years and years, and it's not just the last 18 months, but when it was supposed to come out originally. Obviously, it's been spoken about a lot longer than that, right? Without going into too much detail, actually, I'll come to that in a little while, right? The technology side of thing, and you mentioned the nano robots and stuff like that. That annoyed me more than anything. And for me, the whole nano robot and the whole theme of the biological warfare thing and everything like that. For me, because the way it's not just biological warfare, it's the way they code these to work with DNA and everything like that. I couldn't see past that being ridiculous, if I'm completely honest. I thought the plot was a bit too all over the place, and they do it a lot in Bond films where they go from country to country, like the globetrotting thing. But for me, I genuinely lost track of not just where we were, but why we were there. And it was, for me, it was, and I'll say now, I'm going to watch this again, and I'll probably watch it again in the cinema because I feel like I need to, because there's stuff that I need to go back and just sort of like let it flow a bit more, knowing the general narrative of where it's going. But there was too many times where I was like, so what made them go here again? Oh, and they just happened to bump into. Is the reason that they're there now? And it falls into the trap of cliches quite a bit. I think the final act it's a very cliched Bond villain's lair. It's about as cliched.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
There's most of the double crossing for me. There's double crossing that's going on, and a lot of it is a bit easy to spot coming, really. But it is, a very broad film. It's gonna. I know the nature of Bond films. They're not supposed to be big, sort of like, chin scratchers. Like, oh, I think that. You know what I mean? That's fine. Now I'm going to speak about the. You said about how people have criticised it for being the most woke Bond ever, right? And I don't think it's that annoys me at all. I'm all for evolving the role of the Bond girl, and Madeline is a very evolved Bond girl who is not just window dressing. There's loads of action and plays a real integral part of the action and the story, and it's a very sort of like meaty role that brings her more on a level with the rest of the main cast. For me, though, I mean, the whole thing about you mentioned I forget her name off the top of her head. Lashana Lynch, Nomi, right?
Oh, Nomi, sorry. Yeah.
For me, that did feel a bit forced because it didn't just because it did stray away from Bond, and it almost made her like not more of a sidekick, really, and a forced. There was certainly one stage in the film where it's like Bond's certainly not working on his own now. He's very much got a sidekick, and they're working together. And it just felt very, very much to me. It felt very Batman and Robin sort of thing, and that it had sort of been like crowbarred in a little bit. There's a Russian character. It's just got the most ridiculous cliched Russian accent but also in the way that he's a bit of a laughing stock in the film. There's a bit where he says, "We have big plan." Like, that's a terrible Russian accent, but I mean that was me doing a terrible Russian accent. But I mean, it was just I laughed out loud because it was just so ridiculous. Like, there's a Bond film with a Russian saying, "We have a big plane." In Russia, and
I think he is Russian though.
No, and that's fine. But it was like he was there.
I know.
It was too much for caricature.
Born in Sweden. Born in Sweden.
He was a caricature.
David Denchik.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, but look back at GoldenEye. Look at Alan. What's his name? Alan Cummins in GoldenEye's Boris.
Yeah.
I am invincible.
Well, that's what it was like. It was like Boris. Yeah. So that bothered me a little bit. I just lost my train of thought or something else.
And he has a very, very dark line. We're not going to say like I
Oh,
won't say
about
kind of what happens,
Ebola.
but there's a line he says that no. So he says sort of his last. Let's just put it this way: his last line in the film.
Okay. Oh, that was a line that
very dark.
The line before that annoyed me. When the sort of before
I can't remember now. Yeah.
What time is it? It was like.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Like, come on, please. I mean, the biggest thing for me, really, is that you said it had this heart, and I don't know what it was. I felt when you said you'd cry twice, I was like, well, I'm definitely going to cry. It doesn't take much for me to cry in films. And I felt like I had a heart of stone watching this because I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling any of it. And I'm watching it all thinking, this is supposed to be tugging on my heartstrings, and it's not tugging on my heartstrings. And I didn't understand why it wasn't tugging on my heartstrings.
How invested are I don't in no way mean to be patronising. How invested are you in the rest of these films? Like how have you seen the other Daniel Craig ones much? Or
yeah. Like they're on TV all the time. I've seen them all at the cinema when they first came out. I probably didn't see Quantum of Solace when it first came out at the cinema. I think I probably saw that when it came out on DVD or streaming service or whatever. But no, very much. I've probably seen the Daniel Craig films more than I've seen others. I mean, apart from some of the Pierce Brosnan ones, I've seen a lot. But I just wanted to feel more, and I didn't understand why I wasn't, and I cannot, for the life of me, put my finger on why.
You're a heartless bastard.
Yeah, it must be something to do with that. And there's one more point which I was going to make, and I have completely forgotten what it is. Oh, Ray Fiennes. I very much enjoyed Ray Fiennes. This wasn't my point, but Ray Fiennes. Very much enjoyed Ray Fiennes. Always enjoyed Ray Fiennes in everything.
Yeah.
I like what they've done with the world. I like how they've sort of built the team around Bond. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. Right. I said before about things that you can see coming. Right.
Yeah.
I hope I'm going to be. I hope I'm going to be as cryptic enough.
Okay. Yeah.
This, right. The whole story about the development of this Bond film from the start. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Has been the biggest blindside for me in terms of a double cross.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? In terms of the reason why certain things didn't work out with other people involved early on.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
And that's why I was like, no way. Was that always the plan?
Bold, like again without.
Yeah. I don't think we need. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. And there's a thing that happens. There's a thing that happens in this film.
No way.
Correct. Whoa. There's Anyway, so another thing kind of happens.
Is it?
Max said it a while. Well before that, something. This is a great review. So, well before this particular thing happens to him, that's going to cause something else.
Yeah.
Max was like, "That's going to happen."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah."
And
so called it.
And the other thing, one of the nice touch was, I mean, and this is probably I've read very little about what people have said. I've not read any reviews. I think I'd seen each trailer maybe once, sort of thing, and they're mostly left my mind. So I don't know what when you're referring to like it's the most when people are saying it's the most woke Bond ever and this that and the other. I suspect this is one of those things, but there's a very, very nice but subtle progressive reference to one of the characters' sexuality.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, that's quite cool how they've just done that. Because that wasn't forced, and that's just like a nice thing that adds to that character.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I think we've been trying to be a bit too cryptic in the last 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, you know what? It is what it is. I think I I'm always a sucker for everything. If somebody plays some strings at a sad moment, I'm probably going to cry.
Yeah.
So, and that's probably why I was such a sucker for these particular emotional moments.
Yeah.
But Wicked.
Yeah.
I think it's a good, I get what you're saying. I think it's a nice farewell and they got everything they needed out of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What I will say is they've watched The Dark Knight Rises, haven't they?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
So, Greg, would you say that this film is, and we'll go for this because of Hello, Mrs. Brown, Paddington 2 or Into the Blue?
Oh, man. I mean, I'm obviously going to say Paddington 2 because it's a Bond film. And it's not my favourite Daniel Craig film by a long shot.
It's not, to be honest, it's not my favourite out of his 5, but it's probably my second favourite. I think Casino Royale is the best one, and I'd probably go for this one. But
yeah, I'd say it's about middle for me. Probably.
Interesting.
With Quantum of Solace being at the bottom, Casino Royale being at the top.
You know what? Quantum of Solace isn't that bad. If you give it another shot, it's fine. It does what it needs to do. I really didn't like Spectre.
Well, I'd go. This is what I'd go. I would go. Since we're doing this.
Yeah,
right?
I was actually thinking,
Casino Royale.
Yeah.
Skyfall. This. Spectre. Quantum of Solace.
Interesting. I would go Casino Royale, No Time to Die, and then maybe even Quantum because I wasn't a huge fan of Skyfall.
Wow.
There's a lot of things to like in it, but I saw this thing recently, but it was like if you look back at the plot for Skyfall, and I know you could do this for anything, but it is the most incoherent.
Why are we going to Scotland again? And then they were turned into Home Alone.
No, but even if you look at right, so there's this thing he's got to do, and then it's Silver's plan, isn't it? His plan is always to get captured, but actually, a lot of his men try and kill James a lot before these particular steps happen.
Sure.
But James needs to live to do these things, so this all could stupid film, really, really stupid film. Anyway,
one more thing I'm going to say, and I said this, and I don't know what it. Maybe I've just had a long day. I definitely need to see this film again because one thing it lacked for me, and I'm sat with a massive screen in front of me, sound all around, like amazing sound system, full auditorium, and I mean full. And for what in terms of watching a James Bond film, I didn't have the adrenaline. I didn't feel the adrenaline.
I'm so surprised, and I think a lot of other people might not like it, but I'm really surprised because I was just like, "Yeah, this is awesome!" All the way through.
I'm really happy that you did, and I want to feel that. You don't know how much I wanted to feel that.
We walked out and we were like, "Oh my god, that was really long, wasn't it?" But then I said, "What would you have cut?" I'm actually like, "I don't think I'd have cut anything."
I didn't feel it was too long. It was 2 hours 45. Does it come in out something like that?
Yeah. It's really long.
I wasn't clock watching, although I felt it was maybe 2 hours of meh and 45 minutes of like really cool action. Like for me.
Fair enough. There you go. Where can we see this film, Greg?
No Time to Die is available in the cinemas everywhere now. Every half an hour.
Good.
2 minutes. Go and do it.
But fingers crossed, it's gonna, this film will save cinema. So
support your local movie house. Don't know what happened then,
Mr. Powers.